Joseph, a pleasure to be speaking with you, and congrats on this new season of the show. I mean, not many people get to star in three series around the same time where they're playing the same character.
Yeah. The Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Book 4 Force.
Right. So in your case, you're playing the same character, but you're showing the different depth of the character. Is there a lot of prep work for you where you have to remember all the storylines of the universe?
I'm never afraid to ask and I'm never afraid to look stupid and I just don't feel the need to try to hide if I can't remember something. That's what we're here for. It takes a village to do anything, and it takes a small miracle to produce a television show. I also had the incredible expertise of Gary Lennon and also Kendra Chapman from season one, who is also a huge Power fan, but she's an amazing writer. And she's definitely knows every storyline and every arc and every linearly where everything goes. So I never had a problem picking up the phone or shooting her a text and asking where things came in. But it's always been fun, and I kind of usually get it for the most part.
When you were casting the role, was it just for a pilot, or did you know that it was going to go the whole season?
I knew that it was going to go 8 episodes. Yeah.
And did you have any concept of not only that this was going to be a multi-season show, but then lead to spinoffs? Was that ever in your mind that this could be a universe?
You know, it's interesting. 50 Cent told me after season 2 of the Power Show, he said, "You're going to have your own show." And I was just like, yeah, all right, yeah. He's like, nah, it's too good. It's too good. You got this guy. Like and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to 50 Cent. He's the best boss I've ever had. He's the only boss who ever gave me a hug when they first met me. I think that 50 he manifests his life. So when he says that the Power Show is going to go 7 seasons, 6.5, I'll take it. He makes things happen. And now that Gary Lennon is back on the team, I think that it speaks for itself. I mean, just look at online. The audience is like, Tommy's back. And I'm like, Tommy didn't go anywhere, but Gary's back.
Yeah, in terms, and this is going to be a compliment, but in terms of greatest of all time character that goes on multiple shows at the same time, there's really only you and Rick Grimes. That's all that's left.
I'm trying to think who else. Well, we got some Walking Dead competition now, but
there you go. Now, away from that, something that intrigues me about you, Joseph, is when you said on Twitter, "Hey, Spanish song of the day, choose the song here." You chose the song from Sonrisa Salvaje by David Lee Roth. How do you know about that album?
Crazy from the Heat, baby. I love Diamond Dave.
I have a book coming out on David Lee Roth, which I will have to send you in the near future.
Oh man, I will love it.
Were you a longtime classic rock fan? Because obviously when you're on a show like Power, everyone goes, "That's a hip hop guy." But of course, even Dave himself is a hip hop guy.
Exactly. I think that I never confined myself to any genre. I definitely was a huge hip hop head coming up, especially in the 90s and into the aughts and all that time, and even late 80s. I loved that golden era of hip hop. But I always loved rock music too. Like my older brother, he definitely loved metal. So there was a lot of metal playing in the house. I mean, we never went as extreme as Cannibal Corpse, but like we definitely had DRI and Anthrax and Megadeth, Metallica, Manowar. We went through the M's there. Oh my God, I could keep going.
Motorhead.
Yeah. Motorhead, holy cow, of course. Lemmy, Ace of Spades, gotta love it.
When you talk to a talented actor, and that's what I'm calling you right here, you usually find that they can also sing and dance. Are you a triple threat and we just don't know it?
No, not really. I can carry a tune. I'm musical enough. I actually am doing a staged reading of a musical on Monday, so I'm excited about that. So I'll be singing a little bit. And then the only musical I ever did was Zoot Suit. So we had to do a bunch of dancing for that. I did that at the Goodman Theater in Chicago 26 years ago. Anything I put my mind to, I try to accomplish. But I'm under no false pretenses that I'm a triple threat.
Well, down to the last two questions. You're the first person I get to ask this to in a few months. Are we allowed to know what you're working on next? For a while,
yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
Embargoes.
exactly. So other than the radio silence from this darn strike. Yeah, so hopefully we'll be back at the Tommy Egan character, which is what I would love if we get a season 3. I would assume it's a matter of time. We'll see. Other than that, I have a production company with my brother called Black Fox, and we have a bunch of different irons in the fire. We're developing a documentary with Heartbeat right now, Kevin Hart's company. We've got over at Lionsgate and at G Unit, and we're rocking and rolling. So you wait to see some more stuff coming out of Black Fox.
So you're dealing with a lot of Jeff Clanagan stuff.
Yes.
That is a guy who definitely knows where the bodies are buried in a good way. And the last question for you is, what's the last concert that you went to for fun?
50 Cent, the Final Lap tour. I saw it twice. I saw it in Denver, and I flew to Chicago to go see it too. And then before that, I took my wife to Depeche Mode.
Wow. So it wasn't Sammy Hagar.
No, Sammy Hagar. I like Sammy Hagar though. I like some of the new Van Halen, or the new. I like some of Van Hagar stuff too, but definitely my heart lies with All Dave All Night.
Well, hey, thank you for the many years of great on-screen stuff. Looking forward to the upcoming project with Heartbeat, etc. Thank you for being you, Joseph.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate that, man. Have a great day.
Paltrocast.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time. How's your day going, aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again?
Well, this is my lunch break. I'm in the writer's room for Dark Winds on AMC. So we're packing it in today.
In the best of ways. And I'm speaking to somebody whose movie still has 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you pay attention to that at all?
You know, I say no, but I always take a peek. So yeah, kind of.
Well, congratulations on that. And when did you actually wrap the movie? The reason I'm asking that is because it was announced who was executive producing it and who was in it like 3 years ago. And you never know when those announcements come mid-production or before production.
Yes, we filmed in the summer of 2021. And that was about a month and a half filming. And we just started editing for about a year. And COVID took us out. My editor had COVID. I had COVID. So we were just, taking our time with it. And we will premiere it at, South by Southwest in March this year.
Did you know early into the process that Netflix would be showing the movie?
Absolutely not. You hope, you hope as a filmmaker and, writer director, you hope that your film, gets kind of this wide release, and you couldn't have asked for a better, partnership with Array, Ava DuVernay, and Netflix.
Do you remember who the first actor who came on board is? I'm used to seeing Martin's name in junkets. This must be like 12 films ago for Martin.
Yeah, I wrote this character, Marvin, actually with Martin in mind. And also his wife plays Aunt Lucy Kahara Hodges. And they're probably the most beautiful Native actors, are actually married couple that I know. But I, wanted to give Martin something that, I haven't seen him in, and I knew he could do it. I knew he could, pull it off. And, he read the script and he was like, I'm down. I know this uncle. I grew up with this uncle. So it really kind of, it didn't take much for him. And he nailed it.
And Taika, of course, executive producing. I first found about him through What We Do in the Shadows, seeing it in the theaters. How did you first encounter Taika's work?
I've known Taika for about 20 years, and we met when he had a short film at Sundance Film Festival, and I was volunteering there. And we just connected. We're both Indigenous, and, the Native program at Sundance at the time was run by Berg Running Water. Always pulled the Native Indigenous filmmakers together. So we had a lot of events. So Taika and I stayed in touch, and I just sent the script to him and said, "Hey, can you help in any way? As an advisor, and then I asked him, I was like, it would really help and mean a lot if you could EP my film." And he was on the set of Thor, and he agreed, and that was probably it was history from there.
Hmm. Now you mentioned right now you're in the writers' room for an AMC project. Does that mean that you also, like Taika, run the gamut from indie to blockbuster superhero things? You want to do both of those kinds of things?
Yeah, with the independent films, it takes about 4 or 5 years to get your film off the ground. And as an independent filmmaker, you're trying to get all the resources you can get. So a lot of the times your films are pretty low budget. Writing for Dark Winds on AMC it's a paycheck. It's a consistent, paycheck. So yeah, I would love to go into other projects that maybe are non-native. I think that what I love doing is writing and directing. So I'm getting that chance to do that here on Dark Winds.
Well, two quick questions, then I let you go. And the first one is, what's the best way to find out about the next projects? Is it following you on Instagram? And if so, you're BR Luther?
BR Luther, yes. Yeah, I really keep people up to date on the work that I'm doing there. I just I would love to find out what I'm working on too. So you can tell me, maybe Google me. I just love, creating. Dark Winds right now is probably going to take about 9 years or 9 years, 9 months. So I will be on that for a while, but I have a lot of kind of things in development. I made a documentary film called Miss Navajo in 2005 now, and I am developing that into a feature project, so a narrative feature project. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Wow. Okay. So keep checking IMDb, keep checking the gram. That's when we'll know what Billy has ready when he wants us to see it. Well, looking forward to that, and keep up the 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Not jinxing it, congratulating it. So thank you for your time, Billy.
Thank you, Darren.
Paltrocast.
First question besides how are you? Do I call you Frankie Kazarian? Frankie Kazarian? What do you like to be called?
Frankie works. Frankie Kazarian. It's your choice. Yep.
Dealer's
all of the above. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Wonderful to see you back in Impact. You've been back around like 9 months now, it seems.
Yeah. So I started at Hard to Kill January this year.
Right. And there's a lot of great upcoming events for TNA Impact that I believe you're a part of. There's Snake Eyes, Hard to Kill, Final Resolution. The next one is Final Resolution, right?
Correct. December 9th, Final Resolution, Toronto.
Any idea who you will be battling on that evening yet?
Not sure. Nothing has been announced. I definitely will be in the house. Fittingly, this will be the last pay-per-view under the Impact brand before we, start rocking and rolling as TNA again in 2024. So, I can't miss this one. I'm definitely going to be at the first TNA, and I'm definitely going to be at the last Impact one because I have a lot of history here. So, I will be in the house. I will be competing. Not sure who against yet or whom against, but keep your eyes peeled, and probably find out in the next few days, few weeks here.
Right. So that one is in Toronto. Usually after a big pay-per-view, there's a kind of a wrap-up show after that. Is this going to be the first one that does not have that wrap-up afterwards kind of show for TNA or Impact?
Yeah, I'm not sure if any decision has been made yet, but I know this is it in terms of big pay-per-views for us for this year under Impact. What's going on with television? I think we got some stuff in the can. We're gonna be unleashing, but this is putting a button on what Impact was like. Impact Wrestling this year for me, for my money, has had the best in-ring product out there, and we shouldn't dismiss Impact just because of the excitement that we're going back to TNA. I know we're all very excited, but what Scott D'Amore and his team has done, and what the men and women on this roster have done, behind the scenes and in front of the camera, has been nothing short of incredible to bring us back to where people are excited for what we're doing. So, it'll be a fitting way to say goodbye to Impact Wrestling, December 9th in Toronto.
And you had a good timing with the return before the rebranding and all that.
Yeah. Timing is I tell this to young people in this business, you can only control certain things, how you look, the way you present yourself, how you conduct yourself. Timing is one of those things. It's either you have good timing or you have bad timing. I've historically had bad timing just with in terms of changing companies, in terms of when I was, when contracts were up and everything, my timing was great. I mean, this time in particular, I controlled my own destiny because I made a decision to leave where I was and to come to Impact Wrestling. And the timing for me was it was do or die. I was like, I need to make a change. And I made it at the right time for me, and it feels like I made it at the right time for Impact Wrestling too. This year has been, probably the most fulfilling and rewarding in my career because of what I've been able to prove and what I've been able to do with Impact Wrestling, soon to be TNA.
Is there any resentment in your household, the fact that you're going to be the second Impact Hall of Famer?
I don't want to be so presumptuous to assume I'm going to be in the Impact Hall of Fame, but it's cool that I am married to a Hall of Famer. Not a lot of guys can say that. And I'm cool. It's very cool that my returning to this company gave my wife a opportunity to, give her something that she didn't know she needed. And that was one more match. She was done. She was a mom. She had no desire to do anything other than support me and support the company. But God, she trained her ass off. She got back in ring shape. She, had that last match and she did so good. And then the announcement for the Hall of Fame, that was the cherry on top. So it's cool that, if my coming back brought her that also, which is, on a personal level, like I can't say how thrilled and how grateful I am for Impact giving me that opportunity.
Well, outside of your successful wrestling career, you've always stayed relatively busy with music. Is Gutter Candy doing much at the moment?
Gutter Candy still, we're a lot of what Gutter Candy does is dictated by my schedule, and I'm busy a lot. I'm on the road a lot, so in terms of like booking gigs, that can be challenging because I'm gone a lot on weekends, and that's usually when we play. But we've stayed. We are rehearsing all the time. We're probably going to be doing a gig here in Southern California at the end of December. I'll keep everybody posted on it on my socials, and really looking to ramp it up in early January. Hopefully, a big announcement too. We're constantly recording, constantly rehearsing. That's another creative outlet I love. I very much enjoy being in a band. Getting that creative outlet in a way that's not wrestling. Something just locking in with my band, writing songs, covering songs, playing live gigs. I'm a huge fan of rock and roll, been a musician for many, many years. So it's a very, very fun outlet. And a lot of, I like exposing people to our music, people that, just know me as a pro wrestler. And it's like, a lot of people have been turned on to Gutter Candy music and really, really enjoyed it.
When did you start playing bass versus starting wrestling training?
So I got my first bass before I actually started training. I got my first bass when I was, I think, 18 years old. My grandfather was a musician. He lived in Las Vegas, and I told him I wanted to play bass guitar, and he's like, "Oh, okay." So he brings me into his room, and he takes out this 1966 Fender Mustang bass, which Fender, is that 1966 is not to get too far into the weeds here. Fender started making the Mustang bass in 1966, and this was an original 66 Fender Mustang bass. Takes it out and kind of shows me a few things. I'm green, I know nothing, and puts it in the case and goes, "Well, here," and he gave it to me, which is like, man, I still have that bass to this day, and it's kind of on the shelf right now. I'm not playing it. I got to do some repairs to it, but he gave it to me. So then I taught myself on that bass guitar. Taught myself, and like everybody else does, got in the garage with some buddies and started, playing some music and having some drinks, and and got okay, very, very raw, very unorthodox, but trained myself. And then wrestling, I started wrestling training shortly thereafter, and then got busy with that. So the music kind of took a back seat, but I always played. It wasn't until the last, really 8 years that I really, started getting back into jamming with some friends and writing some original stuff, and it kind of, took off and became its own thing. But it's always been there, but it's always kind of taken a backseat to wrestling, because wrestling, when you're this business, it dictates your life. And I understood that a long time ago.
Yeah, big overlap between hard rock and wrestling. A lot of closeted fans of, wrestling that are in hard rock bands, etc. Do you have kind of your secret underworld of people that talk about 80s metal within the wrestling realm?
Oh man, like, well, I've been lucky enough to become friendly with a lot of guys within the music industry through wrestling, and then being wrestling fans, and through other friends, like, I'm very close with Chris Jericho and all the guys in Fozzy, Rich Ward and PJ and like those guys. And through them, I've met a lot of people, and through playing on the Jericho cruise, I've met a lot of, Steve Brown, and I've met a lot of really very cool people, very cool musicians. But I mean, when we're talking about, music, I could sit in a locker room with, for example, say like an Eric Young, and we could talk music all day. And, there's a lot of, like, Steve Macklin's a big, metalhead too. And I'm kind of I'm a metal guy, but like I'm a classic rock guy. I'm a fan of good music. A good song's a good song, whether it's Motown, hip hop, hardcore, metal, classic rock, country, so there's a lot of people that I can just chat all day about music, and that's, if you're talking music, man, I'll talk your ear off. That's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Amen to that. With Eric Young, didn't know he was a music guy. I thought he was a hockey guy. So is it kind of divided with the TNA Impact locker room? Like, those are the hockey people, those are the anime people, those are the video game people, those are the metal people? Is it sectioned off like that?
Not really. I mean, like, it's kind of, there is those sections of people, but like UI, just like his wrestling character, there's nothing he can, in the ring, there's nothing he can't do. He could be a villain. He could be a wimp. He could be a coward. He could be a hero. He could be a monster. He's well versed. That's how he is in life. We talk about football. We talk about hockey. We talk about music. But yeah, no, it's, a lot of people know that I'm a diehard big Metallica fan and rock fan. So, they'll approach me. You guys, especially fans. All the fans come up, and if I'm doing meet and greets, and they'll start talking music, and all of a sudden, the line's getting a little bit longer because I'm talking their ear off. Because, like I said, I could talk about that all day. But yeah, but it's what's cool is our locker room. You can talk about anything with anybody. There's so many. Trey Miguel, for example, is in. When I first started here, found out he's a huge fan of the movie Halloween, the Halloween franchise, which I'm a massive fan. So him and I bonded over that immediately, and just we could talk about that all day. And I could, I could talk with what's cool about our locker room. I could talk with you. Pick anybody in our locker room. We'll have something in common. We can just talk for hours.
Well, that, and you're just easy to deal with. I think that we've learned that over time. There's a reason why you always have a job.
I try to be, man. That's very. I learned that very early on. That Killer Kowalski said that to me. He's like, you can be the best wrestler in the world, but if you have a bad attitude, or you get a reputation for being difficult to deal with, people aren't going to deal with you. So always try to treat everyone with respect, have a good attitude. I've always tried to approach this profession that way.
Right. Well, two quick questions, and then I let you go. And the first one is, today we found out Pantera tour is happening. It wasn't just those Metallica dates. Are you going to that? And if not, what's the next concert that you have your eye on?
So you just broke the news to me. I did not know that, but that's very, very good news. I saw Pantera open for Metallica this year. That was wonderful because Pantera is a huge, huge band for me. And I unfortunately never got to see them with Dimebag or Vinny. So seeing them with Charlie and with Zach, very cool. They sounded great. I will definitely go see Pantera on their own headlining show. That'll be cool. Probably get some deeper cuts and stuff. So that'll be very, very cool. In terms of my next concert, well, I'm about 2 weeks removed from seeing Kiss for the first time, which was very cool. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell any stories to say I'm a giant Kiss fan, but I very much enjoy their music. I'm not in the Kiss army, but I've always respected what those guys do. And I'll tell you this, man, that was maybe the funnest concert I've ever been to. It was Paul sounded great. The Gene looked great, sounded great. The guys played awesome. The sound was awesome. Production was great. So that was very cool. That was just a couple weeks ago. We got Stevie Nicks coming out by me. I might go see her. I'd love to see Stevie Nicks. And then next year, at this point, I'm really looking at trying to see the acts that won't be around for a long time. I got to see the Eagles. Got to see Paul McCartney. Like I said, Stevie Nicks. Madonna's even coming to town. I would love to see her. But just, I'm really trying to see, those bands that I haven't seen that may not be around or may not be producing new music or touring, in the next 5 years or so. So that's kind of my goal right now.
Concert guy. Well, we're not going to say which venue you're going to see them at to protect your privacy and you don't have to deal with those idiots. But the last question before I let you go is this wonderful career that you've had in TNA and Impact and all that. Is there anything you haven't accomplished in the ranks of TNA and Impact that you're still hoping will happen one day? Are you chasing the world championship?
I mean, look, I always, I've always said that, like, if, you don't aspire to be a world champion. I don't know why you're doing this. I understand not everybody's goals are the same. Yes, I've worked very hard in my career, and I've, achieved more than I ever thought possible. But I would be lying if I said I'm content, because I'm not. I do want to be world champion. I want to have my name in that history book alongside my friends and the greats and those that have carried that title. That going into next year is 100% my goal, is to become TNA world champion.
Paltrocast. Aside from having to talk to me, Matt, how is your day going so far?
It's good. It's been a busy start to the new year so far. Getting a lot of shows lined up, and today's just one of those days. Just busy working, but I can't complain.
Before I dig into a bit of that about your busy 2023, what's the hierarchy on calling you Matt versus Matthew? Because when your band is called the Matthew Curry Band, people assume you're Matthew, but you're Matt.
I'm Matt. Yeah. To all the people that know me best and friends, I'm Matt. So, and you and I are new friends, so feel free to call me whatever you'd like.
Well, thank you very much. And it came to my attention that you have a gig at the Iridium, a lot of great venues over the next few months. And you're one of those artists who's on the road more than not these days. When did you realize that that was going to be the real deal part of the career, as opposed to making a new album every year?
Well, I guess it just kind of worked out that way. When you're on the road that much, it is kind of difficult. It does prove difficult to be in the studio or find as much time to sit down and write and have time for that kind of stuff. So it just kind of worked out that way. And, I guess I can't complain about it because I really love playing live. I mean, I think that's my favorite aspect of doing this as a career, is the playing live part. Granted, I love being in the studio and those certain moments when the light bulb clicks and a song comes together or just more or less falls in your lap. That's an equally as good feeling. But playing live in front of a crowd is by far that's the highlight for me.
The venue that I mentioned that's here in New York, the Iridium, where you'll be next month. An interesting thing about that venue is a lot of the artists who play there use it to do low-key gigs or side project things where they can really play what they want. So, for example, Steve Lukather from Toto will be playing arenas and huge festivals, and then he'll play the Iridium, which holds 150, 200 people. And in your case, that's similar to your career, where in playing all these gigs around Steve Miller and Peter Frampton and all that, you play the sheds, but sometimes you're in a club too.
Yeah, man. We've been super fortunate to have gone out, as you mentioned, with Peter and Steve. And interesting fact for any viewers or listeners that might know, I'm sure you know, that the Iridium being Les Paul's club, originally Les Paul is Steve Miller's godfather. And so there's kind of a weird connection there. But we're just happy to play anywhere we can and anywhere people are willing to put up with us, really. So.
Paltrocast.